Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest in the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, today I have Aisha Turgut on the line, and she's founder and CEO over at Grow Wealth Group. Aisha, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Looking forward to talking to you.
All right, so we got a lot to talk about today. Love the topic, the rise of cognitive real estate in human-centered cities. So great topic here. And to get us kicked off here, I'm just curious, how'd you get into this business? Like, where'd that start for you?
Well, I got into real estate many years ago when I was still working on my PhD in Manhattan, and I needed some cash flow because it's expensive to live there. And I reached out to my dad and said, "Help! Can you help me?" And I bought my first condo then. And my family built their wealth part-time in real estate, so they invested in real estate. So I knew the rope, basic understanding of it, and I knew to go in that direction when I needed some cash flow. So that's how it all started.
I'm curious, growing up in a real estate type family, what interested you in real estate? Like, what was the attraction or what was the pull?
Well, again, my dad did it part-time. He was a surgeon by profession. What attracted me was just I would go to these meetings with him, and I just liked the whole business aspect of it. And there's something about real estate structures and urban development that always interests me, that has always interested me.
Roughly, and don't have to be exact, like how old were you when you kind of started having this realization of like just the real estate, game in general? How old were you, just roughly?
I bought my first property. I was 24 years old.
Oh, wow. So you were young. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I was really, really young, yes. And then, it just kind of evolved. After my dad passed, I was responsible for the portfolio. So it just kind of built up from there.
Wow. And so tell us a little bit about the founding of Grow Wealth Group and what that stemmed from.
Well, I was an academic. I was teaching college for over 10 years, and I wanted to be an entrepreneur. So I started my company and went to work for myself.
Yeah. And what was that like, going from academia to then the entrepreneurship side? Because I feel like sometimes that's a little bit, your colleagues, peers, other things like this, and of course you had a real estate background, but what was it like? Was that kind of like an easy transition, or did you keep the academia part still going, or just trying to get a feel for like how you were juggling or how you were managing?
No, when I started my company, I was not teaching anymore. I had transitioned out of that because I didn't see it as a good fit for me anymore. We all we all have cycles in our life, at least I do.
Yeah.
And it was challenging, just like any typical entrepreneurial story. I had lots of coaching. I hired people who guided me to help me put things together. And no, it wasn't easy, but you just keep going. You fall, you learn from it, and then you just keep going and try different things, and something clicks eventually, if that makes sense. Resilience.
It makes total sense, and I always like to get that story out because sometimes somebody might listen and they'll be like, oh, her dad did this, or oh, this, or oh, that, and it's like, no, there's always a story. Nothing's ever easy. I don't care what the background is. It's not like you're like, hey, by the way, I'm starting this business. Everybody give me your money, or everybody invest in it, and everybody lines up, right? Like that doesn't usually happen, right?
Oh, no, not at all. I completely surrounded myself, and I still do. Just people that just knew more than me and was very advanced in the business world. So I had mentors and guides, both free and paid for, that just really was helpful.
So Aisha, obviously you have a background in this. You watched your father to get started. Then you got into the real estate game pretty early yourself and eventually made a career transition. You went through the ups, you went through the downs, and now here we are, and you're the founder of Grow Wealth Group. So you have a qualified opinion. I'm just curious, like, what even gets you to start thinking about this concept of cognitive real estate or human-centered cities? Where does that come from, and how would you define that?
Yeah, it came from technology. We're living in a very volatile time, a transition with all the technology, AI really affecting the built environment or just any environment. It's just part of our world now. And I started paying attention to how it affects the built environment. So what happens a lot of times I'm noticing is what can happen with technology is technology creates efficiency and cuts costs. But when we're so focused on that, we often overlook the fact that technology can make places sterile. And efficiency alone doesn't create value. People do. So at the end of the day, all these AI algorithms and AI systems, they're to support how people actually live, work, and move around. That's the basis of a smart city. The technology is there creating value, but it's in the background. So humans should come first. You know, if a city doesn't feel livable, it's hard to get around or people aren't connected to it. It's not going to perform. So cities that perform well are easy to navigate. They're more comfortable. They're more engaging. And that attracts people. And as I mentioned, I lived in New York City for a long time. And I got to see as the city got cleaner and safer, the city brought in more green spaces. It put in bike paths. It put in more walkways. You started seeing more 24 mixed-use developments being built that encourage 24/7 activity where people can gather. You know, as the city started doing that, families actually started living there and raising families instead of going there for business, doing their time and leaving. So businesses expanded after that once the people stayed. And then, you know, the whole energy of the city changed. And that's really the point. When environments are livable and connected and people invest more of their lives in them, and then business follows and capital follows. So human experience basically isn't separate from economic performance. It actually just drives it.
Yeah, I think that's an important concept. And thinking about also, like, because you're talking about development, you're talking about New York, you're talking about just how buildings are going to work, maybe even as intelligent systems and not just structures. Like, can you comment just a little bit about that and from your perspective, like, as these things evolve?
What that looks like?
Yeah, what that looks like. So the buildings becoming more intelligent, like almost intelligent systems, and not just viewed as structures that we just, go to live in.
Right. I mean, I like to think of them becoming like intelligent platforms. So they're not static. So the AI and the other software and the algorithms that are being incorporated into it, it actually helps the building learn, adapt, improve itself, and respond to what's happening inside of them. So instead of it being just a plain container like we live and work in, it responds to what's happening inside. It's participating. You know, to help understand that, the way I think about it is I like to compare a traditional building to a flip phone. Those old phones, remember them? So it just does one thing. It makes calls. But what we're moving toward is like the smartphone. So it's connected to networks and apps. It's constantly updating, it's collecting data, and it's improving upon itself. That's what cognitive real estate means. So I talk about that in my paper or my article that I wrote, Buildings That Think. So the cognitive
and you had a couple articles published, right, in business magazines. I've seen some of your work, right? You had a couple.
Yeah, I've had more than one. I've had 3 published so far in Bizpreneur Middle East. In a business magazine. It's online.
Congrats, by the way. That's amazing. I love that. You know me, I'm biased. I'm a big fan of business leaders going out there and sharing their knowledge for the benefit of others. So I love it. Go continue. Congrats. That's an amazing thing to an accomplishment.
Yeah, thank you very much. One is called Buildings That Think. The other is the business case for human-centric design. And then I'm going to do one that's coming up on geopolitics and how that's affecting the need for more smart cities.
So shifting topics slightly here, let's talk about wealth in general. And I'm interested from your perspective, what kind of major shifts are you seeing in the future of wealth, we'll call it, happening that maybe some investors or even business leaders aren't seeing? Like, what are you seeing?
That business leaders aren't seeing?
Yeah, like that business leaders still don't see.
Yeah, I mean, business leaders are still looking and investors are still looking at real estate, like the physical space, location, square footage, and rent rolls, for example, but they're not seeing that it's becoming an intelligent platform and that these platforms are going to be more and more connected to urban infrastructure, like mobility networks, energy smart grid systems. So
getting into, just to kind of timestamp this a little bit, so for everybody listening, so we're recording this May 14th of 2026. I'm curious, what excites you right now in the market? And you can take that however you want, whether it's geography, whether it's investment type or otherwise, however you want to take that question. What gets you motivated and fired up to go out there and to do what you do?
Well, just the shifts that are happening right now with the technology, how it's affecting the built environment and real estate. I find that very, very interesting. And it wants to keep me learning more and bringing opportunities as I find out about it to other investors and decision makers. and helping them connect to that. Because the more we learn about what's happening in the future, the better prepared we are, and that's better for us in the long term.
Amazing. Aisha, this has been great having you on the show today and learning more about your background and Grow Wealth Group as well. That being said, if somebody's listening or watching this and if they want to follow up, learn more, or follow your work, how do they do that?
Yeah, they can reach out to me and email me at growwealthgroup@protonmail.com or turgut@protonmail.com.
Fantastic. And for everybody listening, just so you know, we'll definitely put some links in the show notes so you can just click on the links and head right on over. And speaking of the audience, if this is your first time with Mission Matters and you haven't done it yet, hit that subscribe or follow button. This is a daily show. You heard me right. Each and every day we're bringing you new content, new ideas, and hopefully new inspiration to help you along the way in your journey as well. So hit that subscribe or follow button. And Aisha, welcome to the show. And thanks again for coming on.
Thanks a lot, Adam. Nice talking to you.